Here, get me.
Like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Burns, roll call.
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Present.
Mr. Allen?
Present.
Mrs. Brochus?
Present.
Mrs. Lafferty is absent with prior notice. Mrs. Marshall?
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Sporny is also absent with prior notice. And Mrs. Wallweiser?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The board met in executive session this evening prior to this evening to discuss matters related to, prior to this meeting, to discuss matters related to safety and security, issues related to NFT negotiations, and confidential employment matters.
No announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Last Wednesday, we celebrated the 129th Neshamimy commencement ceremony on an absolutely beautiful night at the Ridge. Congratulations to the 717 members of the Neshamimy High School class of 2024 as they leave us for the next chapter in their lives in college, trade schools, or the workforce. Class had a very busy 4 years at the high school, and despite the disruption in their 9th grade and 10th grade years from the pandemic, they managed to thrive and succeed and have many accomplishments during their time at the high school, which they can look back on with great pride. Thanks to Miss Kathy Winchester, this year's class advisor, for all her efforts, the teachers and support staff at the high school, Principal Stephen Garska and his administrative team, our district administrative team, our school board members, our facilities department security staff, and our community first responders for everything they did to send our graduates off with what was a very moving and beautiful ceremony. On Friday, we said goodbye to the rest of our students for the summer, and while making my way around from some of the move-up ceremonies for our 4th grade and 8th graders last week, I was also reminded of the unbelievable number of classroom and co-curricular activities, fundraisers, class trips, special events, regular season and playoff sports games, ceremonies, concerts, theme days, community events, and much, much more happening at every school all year long. Putting together the end-of-year slideshows for these ceremonies has been a pretty big challenge just because of the sheer volume of material. This is a very active school district, and I'm grateful that our staff and all the unique opportunities that our students get both in and out of the classroom. I wish all of our Neshamimy students and their families a very safe, restful, and fun summer, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody back here for another great year in 2024-2025. And finally, a couple recognitions. Maple Point just announced that their Coaches vs. Cancer tournament raised $42,203 this year alone to benefit Philadelphia Coaches vs. Cancer campaign. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, Coaches vs. Cancer tournament in the region, something that we can all be very proud of. And last week, Senior Cameron Krause not only attended graduation, but he's also been spending time in New York City as one of 2 Pennsylvania nominees for the National Jimmy Awards for High School Theater. The awards will be announced on June 24th, and we certainly wish him all the best with that. That's all I have, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. That brings us to, Mrs. Burns, any public comment?
There were no signups.
Thank you. That brings us to Section 2, Routine Matters. Before we start, 2.05 bids is being tabled to a subsequent meeting. So I'd like to make a master motion to approve item 2.01 minutes, 2.02 treasurer's report, 2.03 check register and procurement card purchases, 2.04 budget transfers, 2.06 investments, and 2.07 exonerations. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Brochus. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Personnel certificated. I'd like to make a master motion to approve item 3.01, retirements, resignations, and end of assignments. 3.02 appointments, 3.03 leaves of absence, 3.04 revised leaves of absence, 3.05 co-curricular appointments, 3.06 ancillary appointments, 3.07 ancillary resignations. Motion on the floor, master motion on the floor, can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Hollenbeck.
I'd like to make a master motion for Section 4, personnel support, 4.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 4.02, appointments, 4.03, leaves of absence, 4.04, revised, returns from leave, 4.05, ancillary appointments, and that's it.
There's a motion on the floor, can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Marshall. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Business operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
I'd like to make a motion for 5.01, the 2024 through 2025 final operating budget. Whereas the Neshaminy Board of School Directors has reviewed and adopted proposed final budget on May 7th, 2024, all in accordance with Act 1 of 2006 and the Public School Code of 1949 as amended. And whereas notice of intent to adopt the budget has been duly advertised as required by law, and the budget was also made public throughout the process on PDE Form 2028 as required by law. And whereas in accordance with the Pennsylvania School Code, the Board of School Directors must adopt a final operating budget for the 2024 through 25 fiscal year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors adopts a final operating budget of all funds as detailed below. General fund, including federal and other programs, in the amount of $213,713,536. Revenues and other financing sources in the amount of $210,713,536. Be it further resolved that in order to fund the above, the following taxes are hereby levied. 1. Real estate taxes, 181.675 mils. 2. Interim real estate taxes, 181.675 mils. Per capita tax, school code, $5. Per capita tax, Act 511, $10. Local service taxes, formerly OPT/EMS, $10. Business privilege tax, 1 mil wholesale, 1.5 mils retail, $5 license fee. Mercantile tax, 1 mil wholesale, 1.5 mils retail, $2 license fee. Number 8, real estate transfer tax is 1%. Number 9, amusement tax, 10% as amended by law. There is files attached if you go to the website, the 2024 through 2025 Final General Fund Budget PDE 2028 State Format PDF.
Thank you, Mrs. Hollenbeck. There's a motion on the floor, can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? Mr. Bowman just handed this to me by way of Ms. Clayhold. The average increase will be $288.28. That's the average increase.
Annually.
Annually, yes. Okay, so we have a second, so, I forgot it doesn't work. Yeah, put it to a vote, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Brochus.
I'd like to make a motion 5.02, the 2024 homestead and farmstead exclusion. Be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the attached homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution that authorizes a real estate tax assessment reduction for the school year beginning July 1, 2024, under the provisions of the Homestead Property Exclusion Program Act, part of Act 50 of 1998 and the Taxpayer Relief Act, Act 1 of 2006. Files were attached in the Neshaminy School Board District Homestead 2024-25 PDF.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Wolbeser. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I'd like to make another motion, 5.03, stop loss insurance for the 2024-25. That's it, okay. Whereas the Neshaminy School District utilizes Independence Blue Cross as a third-party provider for medical and prescription coverage for employees, and whereas the district has received a recommendation from its healthcare consultant, the Rashini Group, in regard to contracting with an insurance provider for stop-loss coverage, now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby accepts the recommendation of the Rashini Group to contract with Sun Life for medical and prescription stop-loss insurance coverage with a deductible level of $350,000 with file attachments through Sun Life stop-loss renewal Neshaminy School District PDF.
Motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I have one more motion, 5.04 year-end budget transfers, whereas Section 687 of Public School Code of 1949 requires that line item sums appropriated to specific purposes in the budget not be exceeded, and whereas the school accounting system line items have been determined to be major object levels within specific sub-functions, and whereas year-end adjustments by the business office and auditors may cause such line items to be exceeded, now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors, in accordance with the directions from the Auditor General's office, authorizes the business administrator to make those necessary budget transfers within and between accounts to prevent any possible over expenditures without exceeding the total budget for the 2023-24.
We have a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Marshall. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Rodriguez.
I'd like to make a motion for budgetary adjustments for federal and other programs, that's 5.05. Whereas each year, the Neshaminy Board of School Directors, in accordance with instructions from the Auditor General's office, must adjust its receipts and expenditures budget to match the total amount of monies received for other programs. Now therefore be it resolved that the total 2023 through 2024 adjusted budget, including the attached changes, now totals $208,450,253.59. And be it further resolved that appropriate revenue and expense adjustments should be made by the business administrator to account for the increases or decreases identified in the district fund numbers outlined in the attached document. It would be the file attached 2023-24 budget revisions board format.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Brochus. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Rodriguez.
I'd like to make a motion for 5.06, student activity accounts. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby ratifies and affirms the attached student activity accounts expenses from July 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024. Files attached were the NHS student activities, Maple Point student activities, Pequescent student activities, Carl Sandburg student activities. Files attached.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Wolbezer. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion for 5.07, the Irene Boyle Senior Citizen Tax Assistance Program. Whereas the Neshaminy School District has provided a local tax assistance program for senior citizens since 1977. And whereas the district funding for this program has increased 10 times since its inception, including increases in both rebate amounts and income levels which determine eligibility. And whereas since 1977, the district has distributed more than $3.2 million to qualifying senior citizens in our community. And whereas the district continues to be concerned with the increased burden on senior citizens caused by escalating real estate taxes. And whereas the district recognizes that a number of senior citizens have become ineligible due to small increases in Social Security income over a number of recent years. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the modification of the Neshaminy Senior Citizens Tax Assistance Program to increase the maximum income eligibility from $29,999 to $34,999 and incorporate the following to our tax rebate purposes. It's listed below.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Just congratulations to Miss Boyle. She's a tremendous advocate for all of this community, and for as long as I've known her, which is a long time, has been a tremendous advocate for senior citizens well. So thank you very much for everything you do.
I just wanted to thank the board for their support.
Mrs. Wolbezer, you're on.
I'd like to make a motion 5.08 Bucks County Regional Wide Area Network, or RWAN resolution. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the attached resolution to approve the countywide network service agreement and resolution with the Bucks County Intermediate Unit. And the file attachments are listed.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Marshall. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion 5.09, local, state, and national contract participation authorization for 2024 to 2025. Whereas the district participates in cooperative purchasing agreements with entities under Intergovernmental Cooperation Act of 1996, and whereas Act 57 of May 15, 1998, Title 62 PACS 1902, known as the Commonwealth Procurement Code, permits local public procurement units to participate in cooperative purchasing, and whereas such contracts are competitively bid and compliant to Pennsylvania laws and codes, and whereas the use of competitively bid local, regional, state, and national contracts financially assists the district by increasing its purchasing power through volume leveraging and improved operating efficiencies by streamlining the bidding and purchasing process. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby authorizes the business administrator to participate under contracts with piggyback provisions when it is financially advantageous to the district to order and purchase such materials, supplies, and equipment as needed by the district, and which include these currently available contracts through the attached organizations. File attachments listed.
The motion on the floor, can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Brochus. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a master motion for 5.10 revised annual appointments for 2024 through 25, 5.11 contracted services for 2024 through 2025, 5.12 revised breakfast/lunch pricing, and 5.13 summer pass County of Bucks agreement.
We have a master motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Marshall.
I'd like to make a motion 5.14 Summer Pass Opioid Grant, whereas the Bucks County Drug and Alcohol Commission Incorporated, BCDAC Inc., through the County of Bucks and its commissioners, has agreed to provide a grant of funds made available according to the Opioid Distributors Multi-State Settlement Funds to Neshaminy School District for delivery services in alignment with the settlement plan. And whereas the BCDAC Inc. has agreed, as set forth in the attached contract, to reimburse actual incurred costs of the 2024 Summer Pass Planned Action Stimulate Success program for approximately 60 middle school students in the Neshaminy School District who have had truancy and related problems in the prior school year, up to $25,000. And whereas the program runs 4 weeks, 4 days a week, providing children and youth with services such as tutoring, social skills, life skills, community service, and recreation, now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approve the agreement between the Neshaminy School District and the BCDAC Inc. And there is one file attached.
We have a second on the floor. We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Rodriguez.
I'd like to make a motion for 5.15 Summer Pass Acceptance of Donation. Whereas the Neshaminy School District received a donation from the Lower Southampton Township in the amount of $5,000 for the 2024 Summer Pass program. Therefore, now be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby accepts the aforementioned donation.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions? All in favor?
I would just like to thank Lower Southampton Township for their generous donation.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Marshall.
I'd like to make a motion 5.16 Summer Work Projects Approval, whereas the Neshaminy Board of School Directors recognizes the need for designated staff to work during the summer in preparation for the new school year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves additional work hours time to complete new school year planning and preparation during the summer of 2024 in the district office, that's CNI coaches to assist with security training video, 5 days.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Brochus. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion 5.17 advertising agreement with Inspire Federal Credit Union. Whereas the Neshaminy School District received sponsorship from Inspire Federal Credit Union, a digital scoreboard for the Harry E. Franks Stadium. And whereas the Neshaminy School District has entered into an advertising agreement whereby Inspire Federal Credit Union will have static advertising rights affixed to the scoreboard, now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the said advertising agreement with Inspire Federal Credit Union. The advertising agreement is attached.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? On behalf of the board, we would like to thank Inspire Federal Credit Union for their generous donation here. Okay, now we'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Educational Development, Mr. Rodriguez.
I'd like to make a motion for 6.01 out-of-district placements. Whereas in order to meet the educational programming needs of specific students, it may be advantageous to utilize the services of out-of-district providers. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the out-of-district placements identified below. And there's two.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Marshall. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Policy, Ms. Waldbeezer?
I'd like to make a motion 7.01, second reading of policy. Whereas the Board Policy Committee reviewed the policies listed below at the May 16th, 2024 committee meeting, and whereas the board policies listed below are being recommended for a policy second reading and final adoption into the Neshaminy School District Policy Manual, now therefore be it resolved that Neshaminy School Board of Directors hereby approves the policies listed below for final adoption into the Neshaminy School District Policy Manual. And that is 919 advertising, a new policy. And there's an attachment.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to the closing of the meeting. It's okay. Closing of the meeting. Other board business? Second public comment period. Any board comment? I was going to do it in the future. You can do it. Yeah, we can do it now. There is one change to the future meetings. There is a meeting next Wednesday, July 26, 2024. It's a special meeting we will vote on the NFT contract. So that's and there may be one other ancillary item we vote on that day, but will probably be the primary gist of that meeting. So that's not on this, I guess the public announcement will be coming out in the next day or so. Okay. All right, no one had any board comment?
I do.
Okay.
I would just like to congratulate once again the seniors. It was a beautiful day for graduation. It was a tremendous ceremony. I hope all of the staff, students, and faculty and parents enjoy your vacation, although I'm sure the parents are already chomping at the bit for the kids to come back to school. Everybody enjoy your summer, and we'll see you next week now, but we will see you soon. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.